Hello, welcome to I Knit You Not. All of the good names were taken. I have been considering doing a little video on YouTube on knitting, crocheting, and everything like that for quite a while now. And then every time I think of a name, I get on YouTube and somebody already has that name. So this morning I thought of this one and nobody had it, so I took it as a sign that I would go ahead and try this. My grandmother taught me how to knit when I was 8, but all she taught me, she did not teach me how to cast on. She told me that was too difficult for me to learn at 8. So she would cast it on for me, and then she would teach me the knit stitches. And she told me purl was too complicated too. And then she never gave me another lesson, and I kind of forgot about it. And when I was in my 30s, I believe, I thought, you know, knitting sounds fun. So I bought some needles, bought some yarn, had no idea that the size of the needle and the size of the yarn, those numbers meant anything. I just picked whatever I thought was pretty. Even the needles too, I believe I picked a color that I just thought was a pretty color. And so you can imagine the trouble that I had. I did learn how to cast on, and I did learn how to purl, and my memory was just horrible whenever I would try and follow a pattern, anything other than just straight knit or straight purl. Whenever you had to change, or you had to change on different rows, it was so difficult for me. And so I would set it aside, go buy another set of knitting needles, different color, because I'd get bored with the color that I was working with, thinking that that was the problem, which it was not, and try again and try again and try again. I made some very wonky scarves. I did finally learn how to do some dishcloths, and I made a bunch of dishcloths, and everybody I knew received dishcloths from me, and they were pretty nice. I think they were the grandma's dishcloth, where it kind of has like a little hole. It looks really difficult, but it's a really simple, easy pattern that even I got and understood, and I could make it nice and neat. And then I've always been interested in crochet. It just looks so easy with just one needle, so to speak, a hook, instead of having to use 2 needles, just 1 hook. And I thought, you know, that sounds a lot easier. So I bought a crochet kit that came with some yarn and a hook and a little booklet, and it was so difficult to understand. The pictures with the way things are looping around, my mind just could not wrap around what that meant. And so I tried to do a chain. I couldn't even do a slip knot. So I keep messing up on the slip knot, and finally I just kind of tied a little knot thing around it just so I could start to chain. And I would do pretty good on 2 or 3, and then I'd get to 5 chains and it'd start to slip and my hands would be all fumbly, and so I'd put it down because I'd just get too frustrated. And then months would go by and I'd think, you know, that maybe I can do it now. So I'd pick it up, try it, same thing, can't do the slip knot, couldn't do the chain. Finally, after several attempts of trying that, one day I did get a chain of 20, and I thought, you know what, I might be able to do this. So I tried to go on to turn my work, and then I was so confused on where to put the hook, what to do next. It was just extremely confusing, so I just put it away. And then 2019, which is many, many years later, 2019, every year for my birthday, I would try to learn something new. Ever since I hit a milestone birthday, my big major birthday, my very first thing I did, I learned how to tie a Tiffany bow. You know, those little white bows that come on the blue Tiffany boxes. I had a ladies' boutique at the time, and I used to love to gift wrap. And I thought, you know, that'd be really cool to have the Tiffany bow on all of the packages that I wrap as gifts. So I learned how to do that. And then my mind escapes me of what I've learned ever since. But in 2019, it was crochet that I was going to sit down and finally learn how to crochet. And with the magic of YouTube, it was so much easier to watch somebody do it and explain what this meant, even though I was still confused on second chain from hook, first chain from hook. I mean, all that really confused me. In fact, here it is 2021 and it's finally clicking for me what that means, and now I can really see it and kind of understand. But so in 2019, that's when I realized, watching these YouTube videos and all of these wonderful, wonderful people that have these channels that are so informative, and they explain things very well. And and some of them I just get a big kick out of. They're hilarious, or, you know, it just feels like you're sitting there with a girlfriend, you know, just visiting and having a cup of coffee or, you know, a drink and just sitting there and laughing. And so I just started, you know, watching these YouTube videos, and my very first project I made was, and I'm trying to think where it's at, and I could go grab it. I should have had it here. I'll if I do another one of these, I'll bring it in. It's a basket. And so I went and I got the correct hook size and I got the correct yarn size. That's when I thought, you know, maybe that's why I can't knit. And so I made this basket, and it turned out okay. I mean, it looks like a basket, but somehow, doing this in the round, my very first project was in the round, and somehow it was inside out. I don't know how that happened, and I have not attempted to make another basket to see what's going on with that. But it looks like a basket. It's really floppy, and I don't know why it's so floppy. But it holds dishcloths in there that I've crocheted a few dishcloths after that, you know, just to practice the single crochet, double crochet, half crochet. You know, I just kind of come up with my own little things so I could figure that out. And of course, you know, in the beginning, the sides are all uneven, and but I've gotten a lot better at that. I've finally learned how to determine what the last stitch is, which on the first row is pretty easy, and the second row is kind of easy, but by the time you get to the third and fourth row, you're kind of not really realizing where that is. But all of my favorite YouTube crochet channels keep me busy. I like to put on the YouTube video because I like to have something in my ear as I'm crocheting, and right now my mind is a total blank on who some of my favorite channels are, but I'll think of some and let you know. But so I thought, you know, Emma, she's a golden doodle trying to protect me. Hold on just a second. Emma, shh. Come here. Come here. Somebody's out doing the yard, and she's not real happy. Emma, come here. Here, Emma. Come here. Shh, come here. Look what I've got. Look. Ooh, look at that. So anyway, in these past couple of months, I thought, after watching all these crochet videos, it was kind of all the same, and some of the suggested videos coming up for me were knitting. And while I was really in the thick of my crocheting in 2020, I did not even want anything to do with knitting. But now I've watched a couple of the videos on knitting, and I am wanting to start trying to knit. I want to make a sweater, and I want to make it with the really thin yarn with the small needles. Some of these YouTube videos that I'm seeing with people that make their sweaters, they're just beautiful. Another thing I really want to make is the that 2 triangle shawl. I can't remember what it's called, but you have to do the short rows on it. That sounds really confusing. Even the very experienced knitters are kind of talking about how confusing that is. So that maybe have to something that I'll have to do later on, maybe in 2024. I don't know, but a long time from now. I need to make a sweater first. But so I went through and I tried to find some of my old knitting. I never finished projects except for if it was a washcloth. I finished those, and my scarves were always gross. There'd be missed stitches, so there's holes. The edges are all wonky. I made them really skinny and long because the wider that they were, the more I would mess up in my mind. And so yeah, they were just horrible. So I have a lot of whips in knitting. And I went down to try and find everything I had. There at the end of when I was knitting, I tried to get a bunch of people, some of my friends together that like to knit, and some had never knit before. And so they would come over to my house and we would all, you know, the ones that did know how to knit would try and teach the ones that did not know how to do it, to knit. And actually, when I was trying to teach, this was, man, back in 2016, 15, so it's been quite a while ago. I had completely forgotten this. While I was trying to teach people how to do it, it kind of clicked a little bit for me. And so I did make one. I didn't finish it, and I still need to weave in the ends. But I made this fingerless glove. And it is out of the little, and it's really not very good, I know. But I tried. But yeah, it's kind of fun. I just thought that was kind of fun. But that's another thing I want to try and make is socks, because I think this is sock yarn. I'm not for certain. It makes that pattern on its own. But I never did make the second one. And now I don't even remember what I did. I did this in the round. When I found the knitting needles that had the hook, I don't even know what it's called, the little plastic thing that it keeps the thing together and then you can do in the round. That was really neat. So I have a lot of one gloves and I can't find the rest of them. They're packed away somewhere, but I did find this one in a basket that I had somewhere. But yeah, so that was kind of fun. Another thing that I did when I was knitting, and this was still back in 2015, 2016, something like that, when all the mermaid tail blankets were a rage. Well, my granddaughter at the time, I'm trying to think of how old she was, 8, 9, or 10, something like that. I was going to surprise her and make her one of those blankets with a mermaid tail. And all the patterns I was finding were for crochet, and I didn't start crocheting until 2019. So I could not find a knit pattern for one, and I thought, well, how hard can it be? So I got out a long loop one so I could keep it on there and do it in flat. And I cast on something like, I wanted it to be a really dramatic tail. And what I did was I used the pattern for a dishcloth, I think. I'm trying to think of how I did this. Anyway, I need to find it and show it to you. But anyway, I cast on like over 200 stitches, maybe even a lot more than that, maybe 280, something like that, because I wanted it to be dramatic. And then so I started out long, and then I started coming in, And I knit all the way up until I got to the skinny part, and then I was gonna go up, well, go up straight, so then it would be a cover on her, so it would lay over her little body, and then she'd have the big fancy tail at the bottom. And of course, I put it down. You know, I knit, no, that name was already taken. I can't remember now what I was gonna call this. I knit you not. That's right. That is so fitting because I never finished my knitting. So I knit you not. That's kind of funny. Anyway. So back to the mermaid tail. So my granddaughter would always say, hey, have you finished my mermaid blanket? And I'd go, oh, you know, no, I haven't. And I couldn't explain that I was at a difficult part where I couldn't understand what to do next. And so then it just kind of became a joke. One day I told her, let's see, in 2017, my oldest daughter got married. And so I was joking around with my granddaughter Keely, and I told her, I said, you know, I'll probably finish your mermaid towel and give it to you for a gift for your wedding day. And so that's just kind of become a joke. And over the years, you know, whenever we see a mermaid or something about a mermaid, she's 16 now, but she'll say, oh yeah, my wedding present. So wouldn't that be funny if I did finish it one day and give it to her? Hopefully not her wedding, that'd be a long time. Another thing that I tried to knit was a temperature blanket. And again, all I was finding were crochet patterns. And so crochet has just always been in my mind, you know, something that I wanted to do. And so I thought, well, I'll just knit one. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I picked out colors that corresponded to the temperatures for me, and I chose for like all the cooler weather, I chose like different shades of blue and purples, you know, light to dark purples and everything. And then I started at January 1st of like 2016, 2016, I believe it was. And I worked on it faithfully until March, and then something happened in March. I'm not sure, I went out of town or something happened, and when I came back, too many days had passed and I couldn't find the temperature for a couple of days, and so that was it for me, and so I put it down. So I mean, it's a pretty good, you know, it's pretty long. What I did, I just did the knit stitch because I get confused again if I have to put in any purls or any type of counting or anything with knitting, because I have got to sit there and watch myself every single stitch that I do. And so what I would do, I would knit down the row and then knit. See, now I'm getting crochet and knitting confused, because now I can't remember when you knit, when you get to the end is on the other needle and then you turn it. Okay. And then I would knit back. So that would be one row for me, down and back. And so maybe I'll pick that up one day, although it's really just a big piece of fabric. It's just stripes going down, and it's not that great. So but with crochet, I've made a couple of cardigans, and I've done some hats. I'm horrible at hats. If anybody can give me any pointers on how to do a hat. I've also tried some fingerless gloves. There again, for some reason, it's just too tight around the wrist. When you go to put the glove on, it's not stretchy. It's stretchy on the end that goes around your fingers, but for some reason, when I cast on it, and I've even tried larger larger hook. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong to make it so tight. So, but they're all finished. I finished, you know, like all of my daughters have gotten gloves, hats. I cannot size the hat right, or it's just, it looks strange. It's just, I follow the pattern. This one hat was ridiculous. I was learning cabling on the crochet hat, and I followed exactly, I think. I mean, in my mind, I was doing exactly, and this thing was huge. So maybe it's gauge. I'm just now realizing that. Maybe my gauge is off. I do not do swatches. I'm the kind of person that I'm excited to start a project and I just jump into it. I don't want to waste my time doing a swatch. Kind of like painting. I don't like to do the prep work. My husband, he takes his time and he tapes everything off and he cleans everything down and does all that. And if I paint something, I just open the can and go. I just want it done. I just want to see the end result. I don't really have much more to say, I guess. I hope maybe I can meet some friends on here that also have the same likes as me, as, you know, liking to crochet and knit. And I have something really fun that I'm gonna do for my birthday for this year that I'm learning. I practiced a little bit on a pair of jeans that I have, and then just yesterday I bought a book to kind of help with the stitches. But there again, it reminded me of when I tried to learn how to crochet, and the pictures, just for me, the way they're trying to loop it around, it's embroidery, and so there's really lots of cool things that you can do with embroidery. But, well, I hope y'all have a great day, and I don't know, this just feels weird just sitting here talking to my phone, but hopefully it wasn't too painful and awkward.